All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jakub Krzewski. I'm a member of Scholarly Communication Research Group, and this is my great pleasure to welcome you all to our first meeting after the holiday break in our series of seminars on science and semi-peripheries. Today, we have a great pleasure to welcome Professor Carolina Guzmán-Valenzuela from Chile, who is interested in the study of higher education, and for the last 12 years she was conducting research on the role of universities in the 21st century. So Professor Valenzuela is with us today to speak about advancing the understanding of knowledge production in the social sciences in Latin America. And before we will start, I will just briefly introduce you to the plan of the meeting. So we will proceed in the following manner. First, our guest will have around 45 minutes for her presentation, after which Professor Kulczycki, the head of our group, will join in to give a so-called reaction paper. Then I would like to ask our guests to respond to some questions, issues that were raised by Emanuel in his short presentation. And after that, we will hold an open discussion in which everybody is welcome. I would like to ask all participants to join in. So without further ado, Professor, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jakub, and thank you for the pronunciation of my surnames, because I know it's difficult and you did it perfect. So thank you very much. And good morning. I am in Chile, so it's good morning for me and good afternoon for you. I'm very happy to be here with you. I want to thank Christian for inviting me to this seminar, and I want to thank Professor Kulczycki. I'm sorry about my pronunciation. And thank you for being here. And so what I am going to do today is sharing some data and thoughts about a project, a very large project, 4-year project we are conducting right now in Chile about knowledge production in the social sciences and humanities in Latin America. So before starting my presentation, let me share with you some details about this project that we call Little Beast, because it's very ambitious. We are a team of 3 researchers plus several research assistants, and there are different dimensions that we are addressing. One is publications themselves in the social sciences and humanities in Latin America, and we have collecting huge amounts of data, and I'm going to share part of those data with you. But also we are analyzing policy documents to know more or less the kind of discourses or narratives that organizations, scientific organizations, government organizations promote regarding science, and particularly in the social sciences and humanities. And also we are conducting a lot of interviews. We are interviewing policymakers within Chile and outside Chile in Latin America, but also we have conducted several interviews with key actors from supranational organizations, such as the OECD, the World Bank, UNESCO, because we think that there is a kind of articulation between these organizations and the policies, the scientific policies that they promote, and what each country does in Latin America. So this is a very large and an ambitious project, and I can share more details if you like that later on. So let's start with my presentation. And hopefully I'm not going to use my 40 minutes, because I'm sure you are going to be very tired if I use my 40 minutes up, but I will try to use 30 or something like that. Let me see again this. Okay, perfect. So this is the title of my presentation: Advancing the Understanding of Knowledge Production in the Social Sciences in Latin America. And as I said, this is work in progress. So I'm not presenting conclusions. Even the data are changing, because I'm going to go there in a little while, but methodologically it has been very difficult to collect the data. And they changed the data, but also there are other kind of challenges that I'm going to share with you. So it's work in progress. We have written a paper, and we received feedback. So we are working on the revision. So unfortunately, I cannot share the paper with you now, but if it is published one day, I will do it. So the problem we are addressing in our project is that most studies about global science tend to focus on what has been called STEM disciplines. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. Yes, so these are, let's say, the most popular disciplines. They have been on the spotlight in the last decade, I would say. Actually, the curriculum, the university curriculum, has been organized around STEM disciplines. There are a lot of studies about gender bias and why women don't study STEM disciplines, for example. And also there are several studies about employability and salaries. So these disciplines have been receiving a lot of attention. And also regarding knowledge production, there is an immediate economic impact produced by these disciplines, which is relatively easy to measure. So if we talk about economic impact, for example, it's much easier to measure that than social impact. So on the one hand, we have these STEM disciplines with a lot of attention, popularity, innovation, economic impact. And at the same time, they have the largest number of publications in high-ranked journals and patents. And on the other hand, we have the social sciences, but also the humanities, which are not that visible. I'm not saying that I'm part of the social sciences. I am in education and I am a psychologist. And I'm not saying that we produce less or fewer publications, but it seems that publications in the social sciences, art and humanities are less visible. And this phenomena doesn't take place in Latin America only. It's a global thing. I'm sure that social sciences and humanities receive less funding, for example, in many countries in Europe. And so there is an issue of visibility. Yeah. So the question is why? Why social sciences and humanities are less visible than STEM disciplines, for example? And there are many explanations here. Patterns of publications, as I said, economic impact, and other kind of variables that are important to consider. one of those variables is language. Yeah, social sciences and humanities academics usually publish and write in what has been called the lingua franca. So in Latin America, most publications are in Spanish and Portuguese because of obvious reasons. However, the publications with the highest impact are in English. So usually these publications in English are indexed in Web of Science, Core Collection, and Scopus, and most of those publications are in English. So there is a language issue here, and that complicates things. But also, publications in Latin America are perhaps less visible because we are part of what has been called the Global South. So we have a kind of double invisibilization, if we can call it in that way. We publish in Spanish and Portuguese, but also we publish about problems and issues that take place in Latin America, which is part of the Global South. And so there is a problem, there is an evident problem here. So this is the problem. And now I'm going to share with you some theoretical frameworks that we use in our project. So, oh, sorry about that. No, this is not working now. The first one is about epistemic imbalances. So the first one, imbalance, is related to knowledge, epistemic knowledge, and hierarchies that have been established among disciplines. So as I said, those disciplines that usually STEM disciplines that produce economic impact and innovation impact that can be measured more easily and produce this economic impact are enjoy a higher status compared with what has been called soft sciences. Yes. I know that the distinction between hard and soft sciences is an old one. It was proposed by Bigland in 1973, but to be honest, it's a distinction that is quite used to date. I was searching papers a couple of days ago, and this distinction is still used: hard sciences and soft sciences. And if you think about the very concept of soft sciences, the very adjective of soft has a connotation, yes? And it gives an account of a status: hard, soft. So the hard sciences are those that typically use mathematical models to explain and predict the natural world, and their results can be replicated and generalized, and so have an apparently universal character. While soft sciences generally focus on complex human phenomena that are difficult to measure and are context specific. So in the social sciences and humanities, we don't produce very many universal theories. There are exceptions, of course. There are sociological theories that try to be more universal. Even in psychology, for example, Piaget produced a universal theory about intelligence and the mind, the development of the mind. However, we know that many of these universal theories need to be nuanced, because they develop differently depending on the countries. There are different realities. There are many social variables, ethnic variables, language variables that need to be considered. So I would say that it's not usual to produce universal theories in the social sciences and humanities. But also, as I mentioned, usually the soft sciences, education, for example, and well, even sociology, produce knowledge in the lingua franca. So that means that those publications published in English, which are usually in the hard sciences, have more visibility than publications in local languages, Polish, for example, Spanish, Portuguese, and different kind of languages. So there is an issue of visibility, which is very, very important. Also, in trying to analyze the epistemic nature of the social sciences and humanities, we found several papers pointing out to the fact that in the social sciences and humanities, there are more single-authored papers. They are quite common. Why is this? This is a very interesting thing to discuss. It seems that collaboration is more frequent in the hard sciences. You find papers with even more than 100 authors, for example. I'm sure you have seen that, like 100 authors in a medicine, in a paper from medicine, for example. And then in the social sciences and humanities, it seems that there is a tendency to publish just one single author published this paper. So this is an interesting thing, why collaboration is not as frequent as in the hard sciences, for example. But there is a tendency there is a pattern, and it's well documented. And well, I already mentioned the issue of the lingua franca in the social sciences. In Latin America, it's Spanish and Portuguese mainly. And what I haven't mentioned yet, and this is part of epistemic imbalances, but also part of geopolitical imbalances, is the issue of international rankings. There is an important issue about international rankings and the way they measure and promote productivity. Many of these international rankings, Shanghai rankings, Times Higher Education ranking, or the QS, are take into consideration publications in prestigious outlets, such as Web of Science and Scopus, for example. So, and most of them are published in English. So it seems that for the social sciences and humanities, it's more difficult to publish in those languages. We can discuss this, of course, later on, but there is an issue there. There is a challenge. So the second idea regarding imbalances has to do with geopolitical imbalances, and because this project is situated in Chile, in Latin America, to us it's very important to consider decolonial theories. Yes, and decolonial theories or dependency theories, they are different, but they are interrelated. Take into consideration colonial and post-colonial relationships between regions and countries. And there are political imbalances, geographic imbalances, financial imbalances. There is an important set of literatures about decolonial and post-colonial theories. Cornell, for example, distinguishes between the center or metropole and the periphery. And Cornell, however, considers that Australia is part of the periphery. I don't agree with that. I think that Australia is part of the global north, because I would say that the global north is composed of wealthy countries in Europe, the United States, and Australia. Wealthy countries. So within Europe, for example, we have the North and the South, or the East and the West. It's not like the whole Europe is part of the global North. I'm referring to wealthy countries in Europe, mainly in the north part of Europe. And of course, I am including the United States, also Canada, Australia. And then we have very fragile countries and unstable countries in political terms, with emerging economies. And those are part of the global south. Some consider that some countries in Asia are part of the global south. I wouldn't say that there are many definitions here, but I think that Asia could be considered as part of the East if we analyze the East and the West distinction. Because of these geopolitical imbalances and these post-colonial relationships, many countries in the global south have developed a dependency on the global north. And I'm not just referring to political dependency or financial dependency. Latin America, for example, depends a lot on the United States, yes? But also there are other kind of dependencies. One is an epistemic dependency. And this refers to the use of knowledge, theories, authors that come from the north when we produce papers. So for example, when I publish a paper in an international journal, I am very aware that if I use reference from Latin America only, that paper it's going to be rejected immediately. So I have to play the game, and I have to use theories produced in the north, yeah, in English, because they are considered international literature. Of course, I'm very critical about the word international. What is international? Something that has been written in English, something that comes from the north. There is a tension there. Decolonial theories and post-colonial theories state that knowledge produced in the north is given more value and visibility over that knowledge produced in the south. And as I mentioned earlier, the international rankings have a very important role here. A major component of the rankings methodology is that of papers published in mainstream journals that are included in global indexes such as Web of Science, Core Collection, and Scopus. So publishing in these outlets is a very important asset. It brings prestige, status, and influence in a global market. And of course, these international rankings promote narratives about universities and the kind of universities that we admire, the elite universities. But these elite universities are usually in the global north, and they are very few. And usually they are part of English-speaking countries. And I'm talking about the 10 best universities according to the Times Higher Education or the Shanghai ranking. And all of them are either in the UK or in the US. If we consider the 100 highest positions, of course, we can find some some universities in China, in the Netherlands, in Australia, in Canada, but the most prestigious ones are either in the US or in the UK. So what happens with Latin America and international rankings? Of course, there is non-university in global rankings. Perhaps there is one, the Universidad de Buenos Aires in Argentina, in the QS ranking. It could be considered as, I think it's in position 80 something. But I would say that that is only the QS ranking, but Shanghai ranking and Times Higher Education don't include any Latin American university within the 100 highest positions. So Latin America is on the outskirts of the global sciences. And one could ask, is this a problem? Yes, it is a problem because there is a contradiction. We are not part of the rankings, but we are very aware of the rankings. And many countries in Latin America want to emulate elite universities in the North. And that is an important issue because that means that many scientific policies steer publications and the ways in which we do research so as to emulate these elite universities in the North. So we are not part of the rankings, but we would really like being part of the rankings. Of course, there are a lot of criticisms and we can discuss this. I'm not saying that being part of the rankings is the best possible thing. On the contrary, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that, for example, every time that there is a news about international rankings, Chile, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico are like crazy about international rankings. So there is an important tension there. We are not part of those rankings, or we are not very well placed, but at the same time, we are very aware of them and we want to be part of this. And as I said, this is important because it has very important implications for scientific policies, but also universities. This phrase, publish or perish, is very important in universities in Latin America. In Chile, is absolutely crazy. We received a lot of rewards if we publish in high-ranked journals, for example. And accreditation systems of universities and programs are based on publications. So there is a very important impact. So international rankings have an important role. So having said this, I'm going to go into the methodology aspect of this project. And basically what we have been doing, one of the several things we have been doing is the examination of articles indexed in Web of Science core collection, Scopus and Cielo databases, in the social sciences, but also in the humanities, but I'm going to focus on the social sciences, with at least one author affiliated to a Latin American university between 2002 and 2018. We went for these three different indexes, Web of Science, Scopus, and Cielo, because they are quite known, especially Web of Science and Scopus. They are the two most extensive and well-recognized indexes in the world. And both have very great impact factors, yes. But also we decided to include Cielo, which stands for the Scientific Electronic Library Online. Cielo was created in Brazil in 1997. and has been known as the leading index for emerging economies such as Latin America and South Africa. It's very popular in South Africa. And this is interesting. It includes freely available journals. So this is quite different from Web of Science, for example, journals. Most of Web of Science or collection journals come from journals that belong to for-profit companies. So there is an industry here. There is a lot of money here. But in Cielo, it's free. So how does Cielo do this? Offer this free service? Well, what happens is that public universities finance Cielo, and of course there are little monies, so the system doesn't work fantastically. It works well, but for example, the review process is slow, and there is no money to do a lot of things. So there are issues here, but Cielo is very important in Latin America. So we decided to consider Cielo. And one of the characteristics of Cielo is that most of the publications are in Spanish and Portuguese. So we had to include it. And so we downloaded for many months, thousands of articles, thousands. It has been crazy, to be honest. And in the end, we have a final sample of more than 500,000 articles, which is crazy. Why so many articles? Because we consider all the social sciences, art and humanities, but also we decided to consider some disciplines, some STEM disciplines, and we went for 3 STEM disciplines: mathematics, physics, and biology. Yeah, because we wanted to compare a bit the patterns between STEM and non-STEM disciplines. So here you have the number of publications with at least one Latin American author across different disciplines and fields. In general, broadly, we can say here that there is an incredible increase in the number of publications, and this is a global trend. This is not taking place in Latin America only. Yeah, there are more publications, more journals, so this represents a global trend. But what is interesting here is the increase of publications in the social sciences. It's amazing. I mean, you can see that from 2004, there is a spike in the publications, followed by biology, physics, and then arts and humanities, and mathematics. After collecting this data, we were a bit puzzled about mathematics. And then we discovered that a lot of mathematicians publish, for example, for them, conference papers, proceeding papers are very important. And we didn't consider proceeding papers. We didn't consider books either. We can discuss this in a little while. Someone could say, why you didn't consider books? Books are very important in the social sciences. And the response is yes, books are very important. However, in Latin America, there isn't any database that groups all the books. So it's very difficult to systematize that information. So we didn't consider books or book chapters. So this is just about academic articles. And you can see the social sciences having an incredible production of papers. And I wanted to share this with you. The role of Chile. We analyze the gross production, and Brazil leads the publications. However, if we adjust the number of publications publications, according to the amount of inhabitants, 1 million inhabitants, Chile has a leading role here. And that is quite amazing. So we could, one interrogation mark is, why Chile produces so many papers in the social sciences, art, and humanities? And there are possible explanations here. One is this scientific policies I mentioned, rigor policies, the accreditation system that is based on publication indicators and that kind of stuff. But also it's curious because Chile doesn't invest a lot of money in science and innovation. Actually, compare with Brazil, we invest very little. So this is an interesting outcome. So let's talk about collaboration patterns and trends by knowledge area and country. Well, we are talking about social sciences here, so this is just for social sciences. And as I said, in the literature, we found that it seems that academics in the social sciences tend to publish by themselves, alone, just single author papers. And we found that. So this confirms what the literature says about single authored papers in the social sciences. However, we also found that many papers are have multiple authors, but within a single country. So this is a trend that is increasing as well. So for example, we have Chilean academics working with Chilean academics in the social sciences and publishing papers, or academics from Argentina or Brazil. So there is a nice discussion here about why we can find this pattern. Why, first, why there is little collaboration, but second, why when we collaborate with colleagues within the same country. Yeah, and perhaps this speaks about an epistemic nature of the social sciences, or a Latin American feature, or is perhaps a possible explanation is that because we address local problems, we collaborate with colleagues living in the same country because we have a similar understanding of a local problem. However, in this figure, you can see that collaboration within Latin America, so for example, between Argentina and Bolivia, Chile and Brazil, and so on, is very low. And that is strange. We were expecting much more collaboration with colleagues within Latin America, different from our own countries. And one could say, well, we share a similar heritage. Perhaps higher education systems are relatively similar. There are differences, but we can find a lot of similarities. So why Latin American academics in the social sciences don't collaborate more with other social scientists in Latin America? That is fascinating. It's quite strange. But at the same time, we found that it seems that we collaborate more with academics in the social sciences outside Latin America. So that is interesting as well. We collaborate with colleagues outside Latin America, but we don't collaborate with academics within Latin America. Why is that? Why is that? Of course, there are explanations here. And let me show this with you. No, this one. These are the countries we Latin American scholars in social sciences collaborate the most. In the first place, the United States, Second place is Spain, then United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Canada. All of these countries are part of the global north. Well, I wouldn't say that Spain is part of the global north, but it's part of Europe. And of course, we share the language. We speak in Spanish. So we could explain the role of Spain, former colony. Yes, we publish a lot with Spain. What is interesting is that it has been increasing. Why is that? One possible explanation is that Spain has been changing a lot regarding scientific policies, and universities are under pressure to publish more. They have produced more journals, so they are publishing more in Spain, at least in these outlets, Web of Science, Scopus, but also in Cielo. So this is an interesting trend. Why the collaboration with the United States have been decreasing? We don't know. We don't know. But the presence of and the importance of the United States is high in Latin America. Yes, we are very dominated by the United States. So this is an interesting pattern. We don't collaborate very much with colleagues within Latin America, but when we collaborate, we do it mainly with authors from wealthy countries, either in Europe or in North America. And this figure shows different patterns of authorship in the social sciences in Latin America. So you have different colors here. Yes, light green single author papers. And I already mentioned that this is an important trend. Most of the papers are single author papers in the social sciences. Then you have single country collaboration, which is an important trend, especially in Brazil. This is an anecdote, but every time I read Brazilian papers, most of the references are from Brazil, and they tend to publish a lot together, and there are scientific policies in Brazil that are quite clear about publishing rewords and those kind of things. So Brazil is a huge country, as you know. They have a lot of journals, and Brazilian academics tend to publish within those Brazilian journals. So that could explain this trend. Yes, I'm okay with the time or not? You tell me.
Around 5 minutes, maybe to.
Okay. Okay.
To conclude.
Gosh, I said that I was going to do it very quickly, and that wasn't the case. So please interrupt me, and I'm going to go into the discussion and conclusion section very soon. What I wanted to say with this figure is that countries within Latin America behave differently. So we have a group of countries here which are the poorest countries. Yes. Most of them are in Central America, and they collaborate a lot with countries outside Latin America. And this can be explained by the fact that these countries invest little monies in science, and so they depend more on collaboration with countries, wealthy countries in the global north. So I'm going to finish because I've got 5 minutes, and I wanted to remark some of the most important findings regarding this set of data. So across the Latin American countries, there is a spectacular increase in the number of articles published in the social sciences. That is the first one. Second one, most of the published articles in the social sciences are single author papers, and this pattern has been steadily increasing. And it would be interesting if we discuss this. This is especially predominant in Brazil, Venezuela, Cuba, Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, and Chile. Patterns of collaboration vary across areas of knowledge. There is a steady increase in collaboration between authors within a single country, followed by collaboration outside Latin America. And joint papers with colleagues outside Latin America are dominant in countries in Central America, those countries that I mentioned with fragile economies. Collaboration with colleagues outside Latin America is a more common type of collaboration in journals indexed in Scopus, followed by Web of Science core collection, and probably because they are in English. And we collaborate the most with the United States, Spain, UK, France, Canada, and Germany. And there is very little South-South collaboration. I didn't mention the numbers, but we don't collaborate with Africa, or we collaborate very little with Africa. And finally, Brazil leads the gross number of first author articles. However, when adjusted by number of inhabitants, Chile leads the pattern. So finally, and we can discuss this, what is happening with books and the social sciences? It seems that the publications of articles are growing, are experiencing a significant growth. So what do you think what is going to happen with books? It seems that academics are not interested in publishing in books because there aren't very many rewards for books, and there are rewards for academic articles. What is happening with collaboration in the social sciences? It seems that in Latin America, at least, we tend to collaborate with colleagues from the same country. There is a nationalism here. Why is that? Perhaps research policies promote this kind of epistemic nationalism. We don't know. Collaboration with the Global North is very important because it brings prestige and the possibility of being part of these international rankings. The Latin American region is not uniform. There are different realities, different countries, different economies, different interests, policies, and so on. So the patterns are not, we cannot generalize for the whole Latin America. There are different patterns within Latin America. And what happens with Poland? I have been reading interesting articles by Professor Kulczycki about Poland in the social sciences. And the question is, what is happening with the social sciences in Poland and East Europe? So, and that's it. I have finished my presentation. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your comments.
Thank you very much, Professor. First of all, thank you for sharing your research with us and giving us this very insightful presentation. We will definitely come back to the points you mentioned at the end, but for now I would like to invite Emanuel to join the conversation and present his reaction paper before we proceed to the discussion section of our meeting.
Thank you, Kuba. Carolina, it was extremely interesting presentation and very unexpected results for me because I know the situation in Poland and Europe, and I thought that some patterns are similar to Europe, but they are not. For example, it's for me it's very interesting that there are not so many collaboration between countries in Latin America. And scholars do not cooperate in social sciences as I expected, because one of working hypotheses in Europe when we discuss collaboration in SSS, in social sciences, is that common language like Spanish will facilitate collaboration, but you show that it's not always the case. I have another questions, but I will address them during the discussion, because I would like to show a very short presentation regarding situation in Europe. I will focus on publication patterns, and I will focus especially on language because I believe that the situation in Europe and Latin America is quite different in this case. On one side, on the other side, in it's extremely similar when we discuss those dependencies between north and south, periphery and center. So let me share my presentation with you. I believe it's okay. It's probably no. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So, as I mentioned, I will focus on level of publication language, because when we discuss situation in Europe, we know that we have one common region. We cooperate because it's easy to go from one city to another city, but we have a lot of languages, and publication patterns in social sciences are quite diverse in terms of languages. On the other hand, in Latin America is also one region with many languages, but one big common language, that is Spanish. Of course, we cannot forget about Portuguese. However, Spanish covers many countries in Latin America. I will show you some results on Europe. They will be published next spring in 2022 in a handbook on research assessment in social sciences. Tim Engels and we co-edited this handbook, and I will show you results on multilingualism of social sciences in Europe. In this study, we focused not on publications, but on researchers, because when we count and study publication patterns and we use only publications, we see that some countries are, the picture of productivity of some countries are distorted. For example, when we investigate publications and ask the question, how many publications is published in English in Poland, we will find that not so many publications, just a small share of publications in social sciences are published in English. This is why me and my colleagues, we asked the question, what is changed when we looked on the level of researchers? That is, in how many languages publication, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. In how many languages researchers published in social sciences? In Europe, in some countries, we have a very privileged situation because we have national research current information system, in which we have information about publications, all types, from articles through monographs and edited volumes published in various languages by researchers from given countries. But in this study, we focused on peer-reviewed journal articles published by over 30,000 researchers from Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, Flanders, Norway, Poland, and Slovenia in 3 years period. Those publications are not limited to Web of Science in Scopus, but they cover all publications from those countries, because in those countries there is an obligation given to the universities and researchers that they have to report all the outputs and publications to the online system. And this figure presents the share of social science researchers in each country who published at least 3 articles through 3 years period and published them in 1, 2, or 3 and more languages. So as you can see, for example, in Czech Republic, left top corner, 1/3 of researchers published in 1 language, but over 60% of researchers publish their articles in 2 or more languages. Most often it is English and Czech language. The same situation in Poland. Over 60% of researchers publish their articles in 2 languages. When we investigated not on the level of researchers, but on the level of publications, we will see that for 10 publications, just 1 or 2 are published in English, but we were interested on levels of researchers. We also analyzed this situation through various fields and countries, and we see that almost in all disciplines and all countries, researchers published in many languages. For example, in media and communications, in Slovenia, 2.5, mean number of languages is almost 2.5. It means that the majority of researchers publish in 2 or 3 and more languages. So we use a lot of languages to address various audiences. Our national language, so for example, Slovenian to address local audience, and English to address international audience. We also analyzed this pattern on the level of gender, and we found that female scholars publish more in 2 languages than men. And Carolina asked about situation in Poland. So this is the analysis of Polish researchers from social sciences who published over 200,000 publications. And in this study, we analyzed all types of publications, that is journals, books, edited volumes, book chapters in 4 years period. And here you see disciplines from social sciences and number of years after PhD, each of researchers and a number of languages. So for example, left top corner, you see economics and business, and on the axis, you see number of years after PhD from 0 to 10, because we included only researchers who hold PhD, and up to 50 and more years after PhD. And in all fields, the majority of researchers publish in 2 languages. It is not dependent on seniority of researchers, but there are some fields in which researchers publish their publication in 3, 4, 5 and more languages, and we are talking only about 4 years period. So it is, in my opinion, a great argument showing that social sciences, at least in Europe, are highly multilingual. And we see also that researchers who do not publish publications in English, it is a left side of this chart, published mostly in 1 language, and it's the majority of the cases, it's Polish. However, where researchers publish in English, the majority of them published in 2 and 3 and 4 languages. It means that if someone published in English, it published also in Polish and in other language. So it is not the case that in social sciences we published only in Polish or only in Polish and English. We also used other languages to address various audiences. So to sum up, from European perspective and also from Polish only perspective, multilingual publishing is ongoing practice. Publishing books in many languages is also ongoing practice. Carolina asked about situation in book publishing. In our study, we addressed this issue, and we found that books are not disappearing from social sciences, at least in Europe. And that's all from my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emanuel. So there is a short time to respond before we move on to the discussion.
Just one comment. I have one comment. In Latin America, there is a long tradition of books, and my argument is that it's not that they are disappearing, but they are not visible, and they cannot be systematized. It's very difficult to analyze books. There are there is a kind of, I don't know how to call it, but there is a tradition here in Latin America, and there are groups of academics who join and say, okay, let's produce a book. Yes, so there are many books. There is a long tradition in books, and but they are not visible. That is one thing. And my second comment, I said that it will be one comment, but I have two comments. The second one is about multilingualism. Perhaps an explanation for Europe and the countries you consider in your research, Emanuel, resonates with the fact that I know Poland is a large country, but many other countries are quite small. And so if I publish in, for example, if I write in Finnish, my audience is going to be very limited. And so perhaps Europe is more flexible in publishing in different languages so as to reach a broader audience. That is not the case for the United Kingdom. I really doubt that they are multilingual. They just publish in English. They don't need to publish in other languages. However, the rest of countries are in the need of publishing in different languages in order to reach different audiences. I think it's great. It's fantastic. Your data is and I think that the fact that you have analyzed researchers is an important thing that we should consider in our project. So thank you, Emanuel.
Thank you. Kuba, may I ask a question regarding Carolina's presentation?
Of course, so we will just have a first question in the discussion section. So just before you ask a question, just a short notice. After Emanuel's question, please join the conversation. Please use the inbuilt raise your hand feature so I can see who wants to pose a question. Okay, Emanuel, back to you, and then we will proceed with further questions.
Carolina, I would like to ask about single-authored publications in Latin America, because according to your research, the number of such publication is increasing extremely. And I wonder whether you also investigated the share of those publications, whether the share of single-author publication is increasing in relation to share of non-single publications. And if yes, do you know why such publications are so important for researchers in Latin America? Because in Europe, we investigated this pattern and it's quite opposite. The share of single author publication is decreasing.
To be honest, we were a bit shocked because the numbers are very high. And you know, in this let me see if I can come back to this. Oh, sorry about that. Where is it? Here. Here you can see. Here you can see that the single author publications lead the number of publications. Why is this? To be honest, I don't know. I think that perhaps we are more autistic here in Latin America. I really don't know. We found several papers pointing out to the fact that single author papers are quite common in the social sciences, but we didn't expect that we thought that this would change because collaboration is a very important feature in science. So to be honest, we don't know. We are trying to find an explanation why this pattern is increasing compared with other kind of publications. At the same time, we have seen that collaboration within a single country is increasing. So it's single author papers and collaboration within Latin American authors increasing. We have some potential explanations, but to be honest, we are still a bit puzzled about this trend. would be perhaps someone here in the seminar has a clue.
Thank you.
All right, so I already see a couple of questions. So I think that Adam Kola was the first person who raised his hand. So Adam, please, if you can join us, I would be grateful.
Thank you very much for this and for a great opportunity to be with all of you. And thank you, Carolina, for your talk. I have one question, because the situation is probably slightly similar to Polish, concerning again books, because you said that books are not visible, and I'm wondering whether this is a proper way to put this problem, because whether they are not visible for system or systems of quotations and things like that, whereas they are actually important part of knowledge transfer between scholars, and in that sense they are still visible. But if you are quoting other books in your book, it means that it is completely beyond the system. So, but it doesn't mean that this knowledge transfer is not occurring there. So I'm wondering what this invisibility means to you. Thank you.
Oh, this is a very interesting question, and I don't have a straight answer. What is visibility or invisibility, and for whom? So, as I said, there is a very long and well-established tradition of books in the social sciences in Latin America, and they are highly cited. So they are visible, but they are visible when you publish in Spanish for a local audience. And I would say they are not as visible when you publish in an international outlet in English. So in my experience, and I know I'm not talking about hard data here, I'm talking about my experience. When I publish in English, in journals in English, I tend to use more references in English than in Spanish. I'm sure that there are a lot of academics who would agree with me that we play a game. We use more papers in English, or even books in English, when we publish in English speaking outlets. So coming back to your question, I think books are very visible in Latin America. They are, but they are invisible for an international community outside Latin America. And second, for the purpose of our research, it has been very difficult to capture those books. Actually, we did try. There is a section when you go into Web of Science, the platform, the online platform, there is a section for books and book chapters, but we found very, very few. And we know there are many more, but it seems that they are not indexed anywhere. So in that sense, they are invisible because they are not indexed in an outlet or in a database. So there is a contradiction here. They are visible, very visible for local audiences and within Latin America, but they are quite invisible for an international audience beyond Latin America.
Thank you.
I wish they were more visible. I think they are very important. Books are very important. But just one more thing. Regarding rewards, this is crazy. I'm going to give you an example from Chile. You receive a higher reward. I'm talking about money. It's not symbolic. I'm talking about money. You receive a higher reward if you publish an article, Q1, Web of Science, than a book, a whole book, if you write a whole book. So it's crazy, but it's what happens, at least here in Chile.
Thank you very much. So this is exactly the situation at my university. You can get the prize for your article in Q1, but you will not get this for your book. My question, just short comment, Jakub, okay, and I will finish.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Just few sentences. That because this is a part of the discussion here also in Poland concerning some different disciplines. And for example, in literary studies, books are very important part of this knowledge exchange, but they are, as you said, they are completely invisible in the whole system, whereas the quotations and references between different books are really making a kind of, you know, really a big net of connection. But there are no database of this, and in that sense it is still invisible, and there are of course large discussion between different disciplines concerning this problem. But thank you very much for your talk again and for your answer. Thanks.
All right, I've already saw that Staszek had a question. So Staszek, if you can join us and pose your question.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Professor. I have a question about theory or about academic debates more generally. In the presentation, you have talked about the various ways we have to conceptualize, to put in terms what is going on in the international publishing scene, especially with regard to the countries that don't have a central position in this scene. So many countries and also Poland. And I've been wondering whether you see in your empirical results any kind of contribution to the theoretical debates or academic debates, if there is something that you could be maybe phrased differently in those debates, or maybe the image that you see in your data basically confirms the theoretical approaches you have been talking about. So that would be my question.
We haven't reached that stage of in our research team. We have a lot of data we need to analyze in light of theories, but very broadly I can say that we have confirmed many theories that are attached to decolonial theories, the idea of decolonization or decolonial theories, and the murder of knowledge. Yeah, so behind our or underpinning our project, there is a lot of that kind of literature. Yeah, it's a critical literatures about knowledge production, about the ways in which inequities, epistemic inequities are produced. However, having said that we have confirmed these theories, or we are aligned with these theories, we still need to explore a bit more some nuances within groups of disciplines. So I think there is a very nice question, and I'm trying to connect this to your question and the one that is in the chat. We haven't analyzed in detail yet what is happening within the social sciences. Yes, and once we do that, I think we can find some theoretical nuances in analyzing and trying to understand and explain our data. So, for example, I think that when we use decolonial theories, they work very well for sociology or in the humanities, history. But what happens with disciplines like economics or even psychology? Yeah, so once we reach, when we are able to analyze what happens within this group of disciplines, I think we are going to be able to expand our theories, because I think that there are a lot of epistemic or disciplinary nuances that we haven't considered yet. So to me, this is a very important challenge. We use decolonial theories, which are very helpful to understand our data, but we need to expand that a bit more in order to understand differences across disciplines within fields. And that is the case of the social sciences, because there is a huge variety. It's not the same talking about sociology or education and, as I said, law or economics. So I'm sure that we will find more theories to illuminate the data. And if we don't find those theories, we will have to produce new theories. But we need to explain those kind of trends. We need to go into detail there. I don't know whether I am responding your question.
Yes, thank you. I realize that there might still be a lot to out of these data once you're finished with the analysis. So thank you.
Yeah, and we have received a lot of feedback. One paper is under review, and an interesting comment from one of the reviewers was that we need to look into national systems, because it seems that we are presenting the case of Latin America, yes, as a big case, but within Latin America, again, you have many differences. So comparing Chile with IT, for example, these are completely different realities. Or even in South America, comparing Brazil and Chile. So we need to analyze a bit more what is happening in terms of scientific policies and the ways in which those policies, local policies, national policies, promote certain types of outcomes. For example, Argentina, I am aware that Argentina has a completely different aware compared with Chile. Chile is very focused on strategic publishing in English with the global north, but Argentina and Brazil promote a local publishing. It's very important, local publications. They are very important in Brazil, in Portuguese. So there are national nuances as well that we need to address, and so we are going to need theories to analyze that.
All right. There are a couple of issues in the chat. I'm not sure whether you would like to maybe follow up, because I understand that you already referred to some of the issues that were raised in the chat. However, there is a longer comment here regarding Brazil, where Evandro is saying that in the case of Brazil, speaking from personal experience, I think there is a question of visions of groups, researchers more isolated among themselves. I think it's also related to a very competitive dynamic of knowledge production here, even in the social sciences, since collaborations sometimes tend to be more time-consuming and difficult to implement. Would you like to maybe elaborate a bit on this comment, and then we will have a time for just a couple of questions. I see that Emanuel here would like to pose one more question. So yeah, back to you.
Well, regarding the first question, I think I have addressed it. No, we still haven't analyzed what is happening within the field of social sciences, and we are aware that we need to do it because there are a lot of differences across disciplines. And regarding the second question about Brazil, I agree with you, Evandro. There is a lot of competition, but it's not that academics want to compete. I think that the system prompts us to compete, because we need to get the funding, the research monies, and so on. So we need to produce more. And so there is a lot of competition. But I'm sure there is a lot of competition as well in the hard sciences, and they collaborate more. And so why we don't collaborate a lot in the social sciences and in the humanities in Latin America, I don't have an answer. Sorry, a response to that. Yeah, collaboration is time consuming, and I don't know, in the hard sciences, I think about in a laboratory, and you have, I don't know, 30 people there, and they collaborate together, and perhaps only 1 or 2 people write the paper, but then you have 30 authors because they did different kind of experiments in the laboratory. It's not like the 30 authors produced the paper. So I think that it depends on what you mean by collaboration. Is writing the paper, doing the experiment. In the social sciences, perhaps we don't do a lot of experiments. So I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that question. Perhaps someone here has an answer for that. Do I continue, Jacob, or?
I think it's all right. I think that this is a hard a hard question, and it's not easy to find a proper answer to why we are not leading towards more collaborative patterns in social sciences. I don't have any answer either to this question, so I maybe would like to give voice to Emanuel to pose his question, and we will carry on with the discussion. Maybe someone will come up with something.
I have a question to Carolina about one of the results presented in your presentation. You showed that there is increase of publication in social sciences in relation to other fields. It was a yellow line going to the top. And my question is, what kind of publication counting method you use? Whole counting, that is, each field takes one point on one slot, or the fractional counting, you divide it by the number of authors. My question is because it's very unusual that social sciences published more than biology and physics combined. And maybe one of the explanation is also because Cielo is biased in favor of social sciences, because there are more, for example, diamond open access journals in social sciences than in biology or physics. So if you could provide some context to this increase, because from European perspective is very interesting. We don't see it in our data.
Well, this is a key question, and I have to be very honest with you. And our paper was, the feedback we received from one of the reviewers was one of the critiques was very hard regarding this comparison, because that reviewer mentioned that we cannot compare the whole social sciences with single disciplines. And I think he or she is right. We did this exercise just to compare some disciplines within the STEM disciplines. Yes, so I think what the next step is trying to analyze the social sciences and specific disciplines within the social sciences, because probably when we do that, the results are going to be very different. So we decided to go for biology, physics, and mathematics, because we think that they are quite representative of hard sciences. But there are many more other disciplines, related disciplines. And we talked to biologists, for example. You have molecular biology, and I don't know, it's a very long list of fields within fields, or disciplines and sub-disciplines. So probably if we had consider all those sub-disciplines, this result would have been completely different. Yes, so this is a very important point, and I need to be very clear about this. So this is the whole field of social sciences, compare with single disciplines. So probably this comparison is unfair. It's unfair, and we need to work on this. But even if you don't consider this single disciplines, you can see that the increase is amazing. Yeah, but the comparison aspect needs to be more accurate. And regarding Cielo, you are absolutely right. We did the exercise and we found that most of the publications in Cielo are in both the social sciences and humanities, and very few come from STEM disciplines. So I think that aspect is it could be seen as a limitation or something to be considered or mentioned. Cielo has more publications or includes more publications in the social sciences and humanities. So, and perhaps this is why it's so spectacular, this increase.
I do not perceive it as the limitation of your study, because you are talking about the visibility. So in terms of visibility through databases, it's absolutely okay for me to use such data. And I know that it's extremely difficult to analyze such a long period because we have no data from previous years. So for example, how many journals from Latin America were added each year to Scopus and Web of Science, because it also changed the picture, but it's not possible to get this data because those publishers, those data providers hide it and they even don't sell it.
Yeah. But well, now we need to deal with the issue of single disciplines and group of disciplines, and it's a difficult one because, to be honest, we don't have the capacity to download all the papers produced by biology and biology related papers. It has taken us months to download this data, so we need to decide what we are going to do with that comment. But it's interesting because if you compare, you have to compare single disciplines, not group of disciplines. So we need to make a decision there.
Okay, we almost run out of time. Maybe we have just a brief moment for last short question, but to be honest, I don't see any further ones. So just a moment if anyone would like to add something. All right, in that case, I would like to once again wholeheartedly thank you very much for accepting our invitation and joining us for today's seminar. Thank you to all the participants for joining us and keeping the conversation going. It's very nice, very good to see some familiar faces. We very much appreciate that you are coming back for consecutive meetings. So in that spirit, I would just like to invite you for our next seminar, which will be in 3 weeks on 14th of December. We will also be talking about Latin America, as we will discuss the double bind of academic freedom, state and or market capture in UK and Venezuela. We will discuss this issue together with Professor Maria Ivancheva. So if you are interested, please join us. Maybe also consider to subscribing our newsletter to just be to know what we are planning and what's upcoming in the next several weeks and months. Once again, thank you very much. I hope to see you very soon in December.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments and questions.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation.
Bye-bye.